Unit 5 Work Motivation 5.0 Introduction. Motivation has long been the topic of interest for both managers and organizational researchers. There are two primary reasons for this continued interest. First, motivation is an integral part of the performance equation at all levels. It is therefore an important topic to be understood for pragmatic reasons. Second, motivation is seen as the fundamental building block in the development of useful theories of effective management practice. It is indeed an important topic in many subfields in the study of managing organization, including leadership, managerial ethics, decision-making and organizational change. It is not surprising, therefore, that this topic has received a lot of attention and generated many approaches toward understanding it. This unit is devoted to the understanding of the nature of work motivation. Various theories of motivation and its Indian perspective are also highlighted in this unit. 5.2 Meaning of work. Work has been defined variously by authors and researchers from several streams. A broad definition that encompasses conceptualizations of work across social and behavioral sciences has been offered by Budd and BAPCH. He defined work as a purposeful human activity involving physical or mental exertion that is not undertaken solely for pleasure and that has economic value. The first part of this definition, purposeful human activity, distinguishes work from the broader realm of all human effort. The second part, not undertaken solely for pleasure, separates work from leisure, while allowing for work to be pleasurable and thereby recognizing that there can sometimes be a nebulous boundary between work and leisure. The final part, that has economic value, allows work to be more encompassing than paid employment by also including unpaid caring for others, self-employment, subsistence farming, casual work in the informal sector, and other activities outside the standard boundaries of paid jobs and career aspirations. Work and its related motivational variables have also been defined from the point of view of the worker. Rowe described work as the main focus of an individual's activities and thoughts. Lofquist and Doris defined work as a focal point for the development of one's way of life, and a vehicle for one's total adjustment throughout life. These two definitions emphasize the impact of work on individual lives. Work as a human activity serves several important functions for an individual. One, economic function. Work provides goods and services, either directly through self-production or indirectly through earned income. Mainstream economic thought highlights this function by conceptualizing work as an abstract quantity of productive effort that has tradable economic value. It is seen as something that individuals do in order to earn income and maximize their individual or household utility. 2. Social relation function. Work consists of human interactions that are experienced in and shaped by social networks, norms and power relations. It thus serves a social relation function by allowing individuals to seek approval, status, sociability, and power. 3. Personal fulfillment function. The nature of one's work, such as the job tasks, rewards, relations with co-workers, and supervision, can affect one's cognitive and affective states. Ideally, work is a source of personal fulfillment and psychological well-being because it can satisfy human needs for achievement, mastery, self-esteem, and self-worth. But lousy work, work with mindless repetition, abusive co-workers or bosses, excessive physical or mental demands, or other factors, can have negative psychological consequences. 4. Identity function. Since work is such a major part of many people's lives, it can be conceptualized as a source of identity, that is, it provides an understanding and meaning to life. This can occur on several levels. The personal identity dimension focuses on stable and consistent attributes and traits that an individual sees as making him or herself unique. This can contain biographical information, including descriptors related to one's work. The social identity approach focuses on how individuals further construct their identities by categorizing themselves into various groups. This might include one's occupation, employer, and other work-related group constructs. 5.3 Nature of work motivation. The study of motivation is concerned with why people behave in a certain way. The basic underlying question is, why do people do what they do? An important objective of the study of motivation is accounting for purposiveness of behavior. The term motivation is derived from the Latin word movere, which means to move. Taken literally, motivation is the process of arousing movement, but the term ordinarily applies to the arousal of one kind of movement, behavior. However, the study of motivation is not restricted to the process of evoking behavior, but it also includes an analysis of the conditions which sustain activity and which regulate its patterning. It is also concerned with why people choose a particular course of action in preference to others, and why they continue with a chosen action, often over a long period, and in the face of difficulties and problems. 5.3.1 Defining work motivation. In an attempt to understand the concept of motivation and highlight its complexity, several definitions have been offered. Atkinson defines motivation as the contemporary, immediate, influence on direction, vigor, and persistence of action, while Vroom defines it as a process governing choice made by persons among alternative forms of voluntary activity. Campbell and Pritchard suggest that motivation has to do with a set of independent forward/dependent variable relationships that explain the direction, amplitude, and persistence of an individual's behavior, holding constant the effects of aptitude, skill, and understanding of the task, and the constraints operating in the environment. Camphor describes motivation as a set of psychological processes involved with the arousal, direction, intensity, and persistence of voluntary actions that are goal-directed. All definitions appear to have four common denominators which may be said to characterize the phenomenon of motivation. That is, when we discuss motivation, we are primarily concerned with 1. Activation of behavior. It has to do with the drive or energy behind our actions and is demonstrated by the arousal of goal-directed behavior. 2. Direction of behavior. It is concerned with the paths people choose toward meeting their goals and is seen by the regulation of behavior towards specific goals. 3. Persistence of behavior. It has to do with continued efforts in the achievement of goals, often in the face of obstacles, and is demonstrated by sustained activity over a period of time. 4. Intensity of behavior. It is concerned with the extent of effort put in to achieve a goal and is seen in the concentration and vigor that goes into pursuing the goal. A definition of work motivation that covers these denominators is presented by Catsell and Thompson, who defines it as a broad construct pertaining to the conditions and processes that account for arousal, direction, magnitude, and maintenance of effort in a person's job. Pinder defined work motivation as a set of energetic forces that originate both within as well as beyond an individual's being, to initiate work-related behaviors, and to determine its form, direction, intensity, and duration. There are two noteworthy features of this definition. First, motivation is identified as an energizing force. It is what induces action in employees. Second, this force has implications for the form, direction, intensity, and duration of behavior. That is, it explains what employees are motivated to accomplish, how they will attempt to accomplish it, how hard they will work to do so, and when they will stop. More recently, Robbins defines work motivation as the willingness to exert high levels of effort towards organizational goals, conditioned by the effort's ability to satisfy some individual needs. Three key elements can be seen in this definition: effort, organizational goals, and needs. The effort element is a measure of intensity or drive. A motivated person tries hard. But high levels of effort are unlikely to lead to favorable job performance unless the effort is channeled in a direction that benefits the organization. Therefore, one must consider the quality of the effort as well as its intensity. The effort that is directed toward, and is consistent with, organizational goals is the kind of effort that managers and organizations should be seeking. Finally, motivation is a need-satisfying process. A need refers to some internal state that makes certain outcomes appear attractive. An unsatisfied need creates tension that stimulates drives within an individual. These drives lead to a search behavior to find particular goals that, if attained, will satisfy the need and reduce the tension. When the individual's needs are compatible with the organization's goals, they may exert high levels of effort that are beneficial for the organization. Work motivation is thus concerned with factors that energize, channel, sustain and amplify work performance toward organizational goals. Gaps between motivation and performance exist whenever people avoid starting something new, resist doing something familiar, stop doing something important and switch their attention to a less valued task, or refuse to work smart on a new challenge and instead use old, familiar but inadequate solutions to solve a new problem. 5.3.2 Characteristics of work motivation. From a review of motivational definitions, several characteristics of work motivation can be identified. Motivation is an individual psychological phenomenon that allows for a person's uniqueness to be demonstrated at the workplace. It is assumed to be under the person's control. Behaviors that are influenced by motivation, such as effort expended, are seen as purposive rather than random. The direction of a person's behavior toward organizational goals is determined by work motivation. It describes concerted effort often in the face of obstacles until the goal is accomplished. It leads individuals to invest greater cognitive effort to enhance both the quality and quantity of work performance. It is distinct from performance. Other factors besides motivation, for example, ability and task difficulty, influence performance. It is multifaceted. People may have several different motives operating at once. Sometimes, these motives may conflict with one another. Motivation is directly related to performance of an individual. 5.3.3 Process of motivation. Motivation as a process starts with a physiological or psychological deficiency or need that activates behavior or a drive that is aimed at a goal or incentive. Thus, motivation consists of three interacting and interdependent elements. Needs. Needs are created whenever there is a physiological or psychological imbalance. For example, a need exists when cells in the body are deprived of food and water or when a person is deprived of friends and other companions. Although psychological needs may be based on a deficiency, sometimes they are not. For example, an individual with a strong need to get ahead may have a history of consistent success. Drives. Drives are set up to alleviate needs. They are action-oriented and provide an energizing thrust toward achieving a certain goal or accomplishing a certain task. Needs for food and water are translated into the hunger and thirst drives, and the need for friends becomes a drive for affiliation. Incentives. Incentive is anything that can mitigate a need and decrease the intensity of the drive. Thus attaining an incentive tends to restore physiological or psychological balance and reduces the drive. Eating food, drinking water and obtaining friends will tend to restore the balance and reduce the corresponding drives. Food, water and friends are the incentives in these examples. 5.4 Classification of motives at work. The various needs and motives can be categorized in a number of ways. For example, the division into primary and secondary motives, or into extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. 5.4.1 Primary and secondary motives. Primary motives are unlearned, physiological needs that include hunger, thirst, sleep, sex, avoidance of pain and maintenance of body temperature. These needs arise from the basic requirements of life and are important for survival of the human race. They are, therefore, virtually universal, but they vary in intensity from one person to another. For example, a child may need more sleep than an older person. These needs may also be conditioned by social practice. If it is customary to eat 3 meals a day, then a person tends to become hungry at 3 times of the day, even though 2 meals might just be adequate. Similarly, if a coffee hour is introduced at work, coffee drinking may become a satisfying habit as well as a social need. Secondary motives are learned, social motives that arise as a result of interaction with other people and develop as people mature. Included in this category are affiliation, desire to associate with others, recognition, need for frequent tangible proof that one is getting ahead, status, need to have a high rank in society, power, need to control and influence others, achievement, drive to accomplish something, autonomy, drive for independence, security and safety, desire to be secure, and defensiveness, desire to defend oneself from blame, criticism, ridicule and censure. Secondary needs are strongly conditioned by experience, vary in type and intensity among people, and are subject to change across time within any individual. These needs cannot usually be isolated and work in combination to influence behavior. Nearly all action that management takes will affect secondary needs, therefore managerial plans should consider the effect of any proposed action on the secondary needs of employees. 5.4.2 Extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is related to tangible rewards such as salary and fringe benefits, promotion, contract of service, the work environment and conditions of work. Individuals are extrinsically motivated when they engage in work in order to obtain some goal that is apart from the work itself. Extrinsic motivation thus requires an instrumentality between the activity and some separable consequences such as tangible or verbal rewards, so that satisfaction comes not from the activity itself but rather from the extrinsic consequences to which the activity leads. Intrinsic motivation is related to psychological rewards such as the opportunity to use one's ability, a sense of challenge and achievement, receiving appreciation, positive recognition and being treated in a caring and considerate manner. Individuals are intrinsically motivated when they seek enjoyment, interest, satisfaction of curiosity, self-expression, or personal challenge in the work. Intrinsic motivation thus involves people doing an activity because they find it interesting and derive spontaneous satisfaction from the activity itself. 5.5 Theories of motivation. There are many competing theories which attempt to explain the nature of motivation. These theories center on 3 different aspects of motivation: the individual's predisposition, the cognitive process, and the consequences deriving from the individual's action. Based on these aspects, there are 3 types of theories of motivation: content theories. These theories are concerned with identifying people's needs and their relative strengths, and the goals they pursue in order to satisfy these needs. Process theories. These theories are concerned more with how behavior is initiated, directed and sustained and attempt to identify the relationship among the dynamic variables, which make up motivation. Reinforcement theory, outcome theories. This theory seeks to explain what types of consequences motivate different people to work. It focuses on how environment teaches us to alter our behaviors so that we maximize positive consequences and minimize adverse consequences. 5.5.1 Content Theories of Motivation. Content, or need, theories of motivation focus on factors internal to the individual that energize and direct behavior. In general, such theories regard motivation as the product of internal drives that compel an individual to act or move toward the satisfaction of individual needs. Major content theories of motivation are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Alderfer's ERG theory, Herberg's motivator hygiene theory, and McClelland's learned needs or three needs theory. 5.5.1.1 Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory proposes that humans are motivated by multiple needs and that these needs exist in a hierarchical order. Maslow identified 5 general types of motivating needs. Physiological needs. These are the most basic human physical needs, including food, water, and other conditions necessary for survival. In the organizational setting, these are reflected in the needs for pleasant working conditions and salary. Safety needs. These are the needs for a safe and secure physical and emotional environment and freedom from threats and emotional distress. In an organizational workplace, safety needs reflect the needs for safe jobs, fringe benefits and job security. Social needs. These needs reflect the desire to be accepted by one's peers, have friendships, be loved, and be part of a group. In the organization, these needs influence the desire for good relationships with co-workers and supervisors and participation in a work group. Esteem needs. These needs relate to the desire for a positive self-image and to receive attention, recognition, and appreciation from others. Within an organization, esteem needs reflect a motivation for recognition, an increase in responsibility, high status, and credit for contributions to the organization. Self-actualization needs. These represent the need for self-fulfillment, which is the highest need category. They concern developing one's full potential, increasing one's competence, and becoming a better person. Self-actualization needs can be met in the organization by providing people with opportunities for growth, creativity, advancement and achievement. Maslow suggested that a substantially satisfied need no longer motivates. It is the lowest level of ungratified need in the hierarchy that motivates behavior, and lower-level needs, physiological and safety needs, must be met before upper-level needs, social, esteem and self-actualization, can be motivational. Thus, individuals must have safe working conditions, adequate pay to take care of oneself and one's family, and job security before they will be motivated by increased job responsibilities, status, and challenging work assignments. Because of the ease of its application, Maslow's theory has received wide recognition, particularly among plasticizing managers. 5.5.1.2 Alderfer's ERG theory. The ERG theory is an extension of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Alderfer suggested that needs could be classified into 3 categories, rather than 5. These 3 types of needs are existence, relatedness, and growth. These needs encompass the needs proposed by Maslow and they can be satisfied within the work environment. Existence needs are concerned with physical survival and include the needs for food, water, shelter and physical safety. Organizations can satisfy these needs through pay, fringe benefits, a safe working environment and job security. Relatedness needs involve interactions with other people and the associated satisfaction in terms of emotional support, respect, recognition and belongingness. These needs can be satisfied on the job by developing interpersonal relationships with co-workers and mentors and off the job by having family and friends. Growth needs are those related to the attainment of one's potential. These needs can be satisfied by using our skills and abilities to the fullest. A job can satisfy growth needs if it involves challenge, autonomy and creativity. The ERG theory differs from the hierarchy of needs in several ways. 1. The ERG model does not assume a rigorous progression from one level to the other. Instead, it accepts the likelihood that all three levels might be active at any time, or even that just one of the higher levels might be active. 2. It suggests that if an individual is continually unable to meet upper-level needs, the person will regress and return to the lower-level needs and then progress again. For example, if employees cannot find emotional support or recognition on the job, relatedness needs, they may demand higher pay or better health coverage, existence needs, as compensation for failing to satisfy the other needs. 3. The model proposes that growth needs are not only unlimited but are actually awakened each time some satisfaction is attained. Thus, while Maslow suggested that a satisfied need no longer motivates us, ERG model predicts that a satisfied need may actually increase its strength. For example, if a job provides a great deal of challenge and creativity, our growth needs might become stronger, leading us to seek greater challenges at work. 5.5.1.3 Herberg's motivation hygiene theory. On the basis of research with engineers and accountants, Frederick Herberg, 1968, developed the motivation hygiene theory. He asked his subjects to think about the times they felt especially good or bad about their jobs. Tabulating the reported good and bad feelings, Herberg concluded that there are two sets of needs: the hygiene needs, which produce job dissatisfaction, and the motivator needs, which produce job satisfaction. Taken together, the hygiene factors and motivators are known as Herberg's two-factor theory of motivation. Hygiene factors, lower needs, are factors which surround the job rather than the job itself. They are related to job context. These involve features of the work environment such as company policy, supervision, interpersonal relations, working conditions and salary and benefits. The hygiene factors dissatisfy employees when they are absent. However, their presence brings employees only to a neutral state, and by themselves, they are not strongly motivating. For example, a worker will only turn up to work if a business has provided a reasonable level of pay and safe working conditions, but these factors will not make him work harder at his job once he is there. The motivation needs, higher needs, motivate employees to high job performance and promote satisfaction. These needs are internal to the work itself. They are allied to job content, and include factors such as achievement, responsibility, recognition, growth, advancement and recognition. The motivation factors operate to build motivation, but their absence is not strongly dissatisfying. These are the characteristics that people find intrinsically rewarding and serve as strongly motivating factors. Thus, the managers can imply these factors to motivate the subordinates accordingly. 5.5.1.4 McClelland's Learned Needs Theory. McClelland's theory suggests that needs are amplified or suppressed through self-concept, social norms, and past experience. Therefore, needs can be learned. Three of the primary needs in this theory are as follows: need for achievement, innate, the desire to excel, to achieve in relation to a set of standards and to pursue and attain goals. Need for affiliation, NAFF, the desire for friendly and close interpersonal relationships. Need for power, NPOW, the desire to control one's environment and to influence others. People with a strong need for achievement want to accomplish reasonably challenging goals through their own effort. They prefer tasks with a moderate degree of risk and those that provide immediate and precise feedback information on progress toward a goal. High achievers find accomplishment of a task to be intrinsically satisfying. They do not expect or necessarily desire the accompanying material rewards. Also, when high achievers select a goal, they tend to be totally preoccupied with the task until it is successfully completed. They tend to be realistic about their abilities and tend to persist in their efforts to accomplish goals. 5.5.2 Process theories of motivation. Process, or cognitive, theories of motivation focus on conscious human decision processes as an explanation of motivation. The process theories are concerned with determining how individual behavior is energized, directed, and maintained in the specifically willed and self-directed human cognitive processes. Process theories of motivation are based on early cognitive theories, which posit that behavior is the result of conscious decision-making processes. The major process theories of motivation are expectancy theory, equity theory, goal-setting theory, and reinforcement theory. 5.5.2.1 Vroom's expectancy theory. Vroom suggested that motivation is a product of three factors: expectancy, one's estimate that effort will lead to successful performance; instrumentality, one's estimate that performance will result in certain outcomes or rewards; and valence, the extent to which expected outcomes are attractive or unattractive. This relationship is stated in the following formula: expectancy x instrumentality x valence equals motivation expectancy. Expectancy is the strength of belief that one's work-related effort will result in a given level of performance. For example, a person selling insurance policies may know from experience that volume of sales is directly related to the number of sales calls made. Expectancies are stated as probabilities and range from 0.0 to 1.0. In some situations, employees may believe that they can unquestionably accomplish the task, P equals 1.0. In other situations, they expect that even their highest level of effort will not result in the desired performance level, P equals 0.0. Normally, employee estimates of expectancy lie somewhere between the two extremes. Instrumentality. Instrumentality represents the employee's belief that a specific performance level will lead to specific outcomes or rewards. This belief is stated as a probability ranging from 0.0 to 1.0. Thus, if an employee sees that promotions are usually based on performance data, instrumentality will be rated high. However, if the basis for such decisions is unclear or managerial favoritism is suspected, a low instrumentality estimate will be made. Valence. Valence refers to the strength of a person's preference for receiving a reward. It is the anticipated satisfaction or dissatisfaction that an individual feels toward an outcome. It ranges from positive to negative. Outcomes have a positive valence when they are consistent with our values and satisfy our needs. They have a negative valence when they oppose our values and inhibit need fulfillment. Valence for a reward is unique to each employee and is thus a reflection of individual differences. For example, if an individual has a strong need for social interaction, working alone from home will have a strong negative valence. On the other hand, if a person prefers solitary activities and has a high desire to excel, working away from home with opportunities for career advancement may have a strong positive valence. Expectancy theory claims that motivation is a multiplicative function of all three components. This means that for an individual to be highly motivated, all three components of the expectancy model must be high. It also implies that if any one of these three components is zero, the overall level of motivation will be zero. So, for example, even if an employee believes that her effort will result in performance, which will result in reward, motivation will be zero if the valence of the reward she expects to receive is zero. Porter and Lawler published an extension of the Vroom expectancy model, which is known as the Porter-Lawler expectancy model. The basic premise of the model is the same as Vroom's, but it extends the model by stating that motivation alone does not predict successful performance. It is a function of two other factors, skills and abilities. Motivation alone cannot ensure successful performance of a task. The employee should also have the abilities and skills required to successfully perform the task. Role perceptions. The employee should have a clear perception of his role in the organization and an accurate knowledge of the job requirements. This will enable him to focus his efforts on accomplishing the assigned tasks. Thus, although the basic premise of the model is the same as for Vroom's model, it is more complex. 5.5.2.1.1 Managerial implications of expectancy theory. The expectancy model is a valuable tool for helping managers design a motivational climate that will stimulate appropriate employee behavior. It provides clear guidelines for increasing employee motivation by altering expectancies, instrumentalities and outcome valences. These are discussed below. Increasing effort performance expectancies. Effort performance expectancies can be increased by training employees to do jobs more effectively, by providing sufficient time and resources, by giving supportive feedback and by following employees' suggestions about ways to change their jobs. Selecting people with required skills and knowledge, matching employees to jobs and communicating tasks required for the job are also an important part of this process. Increasing performance outcome instrumentalities. The most obvious way to improve outcome expectancies is to measure performance accurately and distribute more valued rewards to those with higher job performance. However, in addition to having a high performance-based reward system, companies need to regularly communicate the system through examples, anecdotes and public ceremonies, and clearly demonstrate the link between valued rewards and performance. Increasing outcome valences. Performance outcomes influence work effort only when those outcomes are valued by employees. This implies that companies must develop individualized reward systems so that employees who perform well are offered a choice of rewards. Incentive systems that allow employees to choose from a menu of available alternatives like a pay raise, additional vacation days, improved insurance benefits or daycare facilities may serve to increase the satisfaction with the rewards that they receive. There are also performance outcomes that have negative valences that reduce the effectiveness of existing reward systems. For example, when there is peer pressure to perform at the minimum standard, formal rewards may not serve as motivators. Companies must therefore minimize the presence of such countervailant outcomes. Expectancy theory remains one of the better theories for predicting work effort and motivation. It has been applied to a wide variety of studies, such as predicting student motivation to participate in teaching evaluations, using a decision support system, leaving the organization and engaging in organizational citizenship behaviors. However, the theory seems to ignore the role of emotion in employee behavior. 5.5.2.2 Equity theory. Equity theory suggests that individuals engage in social comparison by comparing their efforts and rewards with those of relevant others. The perception of individuals about the fairness of their rewards relative to others influences their level of motivation. Equity exists when individuals perceive that the ratio of efforts to rewards is the same for them as it is for others to whom they compare themselves. Inequity exists when individuals perceive that the ratio of efforts to rewards is different for them than it is for others to whom they compare themselves. There are two types of inequity, underreward and overreward. Underreward occurs when a person believes that she puts in more effort than another, yet receives the same reward, or puts in the same effort as another for a lesser reward. For instance, if an employee works longer hours than her co-worker, yet they receive the same salary, the employee would perceive inequity in the form of under-reward. Conversely, with over-reward, a person will feel that his efforts to rewards ratio is higher than another person's, such that he is getting more for putting in the same effort, or getting the same reward even with less effort. The theory suggests that there are 4 possible referents for comparison. Self inside, the employee compares his experiences in the present position with the experiences of those holding a similar position in the same organization. Self outside, the employee compares his experiences in the present position with the experiences of those holding a similar position in another organization. Other inside, the employee compares his experience in the present position with the experience of another individual or group of individuals holding a different position but belonging to the same organization. Other outside, the employee compares his experiences in the present position with that of another individual or group of individuals holding a different position and belonging to a different organization. Whatever be the source of referent comparison, individuals are motivated to reduce perceived inequity and may attempt to reduce inequity in various ways. Change the inputs. A person may change his or her level of effort. An employee who feels under-rewarded is likely to work less hard. Change the outcomes. A person may try to change his or her rewards, such as by asking for a raise or making an authorized use of company resources. Change the comparison with others' inputs. A person may change the behavior of the reference person, perhaps by encouraging that person to put forth more effort. Change the comparison with others' outcomes. A person may change the outcome of the reference person perhaps by asking the boss to stop giving favorable treatment to him/her. Change the comparison other. A person experiencing inequity may change the reference person and compare him or herself to a different person to assess equity. Change one's perception. A person may believe that the co-worker is doing more or that the higher outcomes that the other receives are no better than his/hers. Leave the field. A person may avoid thinking about the inequity by keeping away from the office, moving to another department or quitting the job. While research suggests that under-reward motivates individuals to resolve the inequity, research also indicates that the same is not true for over-reward. Individuals who are over-rewarded often engage in cognitive dissonance, convincing themselves that their efforts and rewards are equal to another's. Evidence also reveals that some employees decrease their motivation and effort, others increase it, and still others show no change in response to over-reward inequity. 5.5.2.2.1 Managerial implications of equity theory. Equity theory has important implications for ways of motivating people. The 3 key ones are discussed below. Avoiding underpayment. Companies that attempt to save money by reducing employees' salaries may find that employees respond in different ways to settle scores. For example, they may steal, shave a few minutes off their work, or otherwise withhold production. In extreme cases, they may go on strike. Thus, making people feel underpaid is an unwise decision and ineffective managerial practice. Avoiding overpayment. Overpaying employees to motivate them is also an ineffective strategy, mainly for 2 reasons. A. Increases in performance in response to overpayment. Inequity is only temporary. As time goes on, people begin to believe that they actually deserve the higher pay they are getting and drop their level of work down to normal. B. Overpaying one employee implies that others are being underpaid. When the majority of employees feel underpaid, they will lower their performance, resulting in a net decrease in productivity and widespread dissatisfaction. Being open and honest with employees. Openness and honesty about pay is critical because it helps employees understand the basis of their pay. This, in turn, leads to trust in their company, motivating them to put forth the effort required to excel. 5.5.2.3 Goal Setting Theory. The goal-setting theory was developed primarily by Locke and Latham, 1990. It posits that people will be motivated to the extent to which they accept specific, challenging goals and receive feedback that indicates their progress toward goal achievement. The basic components of goal-setting theory are: goal acceptance. Effective goals need to be accepted by employees. Goals that are not personally accepted will have little capacity to guide behavior. A powerful method of obtaining acceptance is to allow employees to participate in the goal-setting process. Communicating the purpose and necessity of the goal also ensures greater commitment to the goal. Specificity. Specific goals often involve clear, measurable quantitative targets for improvement in the behavior of interest. Research indicates that specific performance goals are much more effective than those in which a person is told to do your best. Challenge. Challenging goals are difficult but not impossible to attain. They cause people to raise the intensity and persistence of their work effort and fulfill a person's achievement and self-actualization needs when they are met. Empirical research supports the proposition that goals that are challenging are more motivational than goals that are relatively easy to achieve. Feedback. Feedback is any information that people receive about the consequences of their behavior. It is central to goal setting because it communicates what behaviors are appropriate or necessary in a particular situation. An effective feedback is specific, relevant, timely, credible and sufficiently frequent. 5.5.2.3.1 Managerial implications of goal-setting theory. The theory of goal setting promotes superior performance by 1. Increasing one's persistence of effort, 2. Regulating one's effort toward effective work behaviors, 3. Directing one's attention to the assigned roles and tasks, and 4. Encouraging the development of goal attainment strategies or action plans. 5. It implies that managers must assign specific, challenging goals, make sure workers truly accept organizational goals, and provide frequent, specific performance-related feedback. 6. A systematic way of using goal setting is with a Management by Objectives program. Management by Objective, MBO, emphasizes upon setting goals in a participative manner, that are tangible, verifiable and measurable. 7. It emphasizes 4 aspects: goal specificity, participation in decision-making, an explicit time period and performance feedback. 5.5.3 Reinforcement theory of motivation. Reinforcement theory seeks to explain what types of consequences motivate different people to work. Traditionally, it can be traced to the work of the pioneering behaviorist B.F. Skinner. It posits that behavior depends on its consequences. Behavior that is accompanied by favorable consequences is likely to continue, while behavior that is followed by unfavorable consequences is not likely to be repeated. Based on this principle, reinforcement theory describes 4 contingency methods of shaping behavior. 1. Positive reinforcement. It occurs when behavior is followed by a favorable consequence that encourages the repetition of that behavior. For example, a supervisor may praise the employee for a job well done. In this case, praise serves as a positive reinforcer that strengthens high-quality work. Other common positive reinforcers are recognition, promotion, money, approval, fringe benefits etc. 2. Negative reinforcement. It occurs when behavior is accompanied by the removal of an unfavorable consequence that results in strengthening of that behavior. For example, an employee may work till late at the office to revise a sales presentation to prevent being rebuked by the boss next morning. In this example, rebuking serves as a negative reinforcer that encourages avoidance behavior. 3. Punishment. It occurs when the administration of an unfavorable consequence discourages certain behavior. Giving an employee a 2-day suspension from work without pay for showing up drunk is an example of punishment. 4. Extinction. It occurs when the target behavior decreases because no reinforcement follows it. For example, research suggests that when managers stop congratulating employees for their good performance, that performance tends to decline. Schedules of reinforcement. The effects of reinforcement depend heavily on the schedule according to which reinforcers are delivered. The two major types of reinforcement schedules are continuous and intermittent. A continuous reinforcement schedule reinforces the desired behavior each and every time it is demonstrated. For example, to reinforce punctuality in an employee with a history of tardiness, the manager might compliment the employee whenever he is punctual. With intermittent or partial reinforcement, on the other hand, not every instance of the desirable behavior is reinforced, but reinforcement is given often enough to make the behavior worth repeating. Intermittent partial schedules are distinguished by whether they are based on time, interval, or number of behavioral events, ratio, and whether that interval or ratio is fixed or variable. The two dimensions result in 4 classes of intermittent schedules. 1. Fixed interval schedule. Reinforcement is given after uniform time intervals. For example, being paid the salary on a monthly basis. 2. Fixed ratio schedule. Reinforcement is given after a fixed number of responses. For example, being paid on a piecework basis or being given a day off after serving a specific number of customers. 3. Variable interval schedule. Reinforcement is given after varying time intervals. For example, randomly timed unannounced visits to a company office by the audit staff or getting promotions after undefined time intervals. 4. Variable ratio schedule. Reinforcement is given after a varying, unpredictable, number of responses. For example, making a variable number of calls to a potential customer for securing a sale. Continuous reinforcement produces rapid learning for newly emitted, unstable or low-frequency responses. However, continuously reinforced responses extinguish more rapidly because the shift to no reinforcement is sudden and easier to perceive. Intermittent reinforcement, on the other hand, produces behavior that is learned more slowly but is more resistant to extinction. It is therefore more appropriate for stable or high-frequency responses. Further, among the intermittent schedules, the variable ones tend to lead to higher performance and produce a rapid rate of responding than fixed schedules. Variable schedules are also more resistant to extinction. Thus the best way to promote fast learning and high resistance to extinction is to begin reinforcing a desired behavior on a continuous schedule until the behavior is well established and then shift to a variable intermittent schedule that is gradually made more demanding. 5.5.3.1 Managerial implications of reinforcement theory. Reinforcement concepts have been applied in the managerial setting using organizational behavior modification, (OBMOD). The typical OBMOD program follows a 5-step problem-solving model. 1. Identify critical behaviors. Everything that an employee does is not equally important in terms of performance outcomes. It is therefore important to identify critical behaviors that make a significant impact on the employee's job performance. 2. Develop baseline data. It requires that the manager determines the number of times the identified behavior is occurring under present conditions. 3. Identify behavioral consequences. It involves performing a functional analysis to identify the behavioral contingencies or consequences of performance. It tells the manager the antecedent cues that emit the behavior and the consequences that are currently maintaining it. 4. Develop and implement an intervention strategy. It involves implementing an appropriate intervention strategy that will entail changing some elements of performance-reward linkage with the goal of making high-level performance more rewarding. 5. Evaluate performance improvement. It requires that the observed behavioral change be evaluated to ensure that learning had taken place. A number of organizations have used BAPCH to improve employee productivity, to reduce errors, absenteeism, tardiness and accident rates, and to improve friendliness toward customers. Evaluation of reinforcement theory. Although the effectiveness of reinforcements in the form of rewards and punishments has a lot of support in the literature, the theory has been criticized for overlooking thoughts and feelings that are evoked by environmental stimuli. The theory assumes that it is not necessary to study needs or cognitive processes to understand motivation, but that it is only necessary to examine the consequences of behavior. However, increasing research on cognitive processes has challenged this basic assumption of the theory. 5.6 Indian Perspectives of Motivation. The concept and knowledge of motivation can be found in our scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Vedas. The Neo-Vedic scholars who were mostly influenced by Buddhism and Jainism have also mentioned about the concepts related to action and motivation. All of the religious books / records reflect that all human beings have desires. These desires drive them to engage in actions to make themselves complete. Since the Vedic times, the saints / philosophers in India have to understand the forces that indulge people into specific actions, behavior, goals, and attitudes. They have also tried to understand the implications of individuals' actions, karma, on their life, suffering and salvation. According to them, there are certain motivating factors, which not only satisfies their basic needs of the individuals, they also contribute towards an individual's peace, prosperity and progression. These motivating factors are as follows: dharma, righteous actions; artha, wealth; karma, sexual desire; moksha, total freedom to be. The above motivating factors talk about the people's desire to achieve materialistic as well as spiritual needs. According to Vedic philosophers, the actions of humans are guided by their desires. By seeking possessions through actions, they try to become perfect and complete. The human desires are a result of the continuous interactions of their senses with the worldly objects. It results in attraction, raga, and aversion, dvesha, to the dualities, dvandas, of life, which in turn lead to attachments, or clinging, and desire-ridden actions. The motives of individuals regulate their actions. 5.7 Let us sum up. Work is an important activity in an individual's life that serves not only economic, but also social relation, personal fulfillment and identity functions for an individual. Motivation at work is valuable as it serves to arouse, direct, maintain and intensify effort towards specific goals. Motivation can be understood as an inner directing force that influences people's willingness to work toward organizational goals. As a process, it is initiated when there is an internal need that drives an individual toward actions directed at obtaining incentives. Motivation at the workplace is a complex process of needs and drives, and awareness of goals and incentives that motivate employees to exert effort. However, results occur only when motivated employees are provided with the opportunity to perform and when they have the resources and the ability to do so. When an employee is productive and the organization takes note of it, rewards are distributed that result in the satisfaction of employees' original needs and drives. There are several motives that can be classified as primary, secondary, extrinsic and intrinsic. At the end, the Indian perspective of motivation was also discussed.